Hey guys, it's Gaijin Hunter, and today is October 29th, 2015, and we just got a new 10-page spread of Monster Hunter Cross news from Famitsu to go through. A quick reminder and a thank you to everybody who subscribes to my channel. If you haven't already, please go ahead and hit the subscribe button. All your support counts. Let's go through here and check out all the news. So here on the first open spread, we have the Amatsumagatsuchi, which I just recently did a video on my channel. Please go and check that out. But this was a really special Elder Dragon from Monster Hunter Portable 3rd, which was never released outside of Japan. People have been wanting this monster back for a very long time, and it's going to be crazy awesome that it's back. So let's go take a look at what they say here. Okay, so this first part over here is just telling us sort of what we already know, which is that this thing can control the weather and is considered almost like the god of storms. This thing does reside in the depths of the mountains behind Yukumo village, which is returning in this game, so we're definitely going to see this tied to the Yukumo village. This excites me because it makes me think that there's going to be other Elder Dragons tied to the other villages as well. So let's go over here to page 2. Okay, and up here they're just highlighting the special stage that it takes place in, which is called the Sacred Mountain. Again, this is located deep behind the valley that's near Yukumo village, and it's a really cool map because at least in Portable 3rd, you had this sky that was really stormy and very colorful, and then when you finally do kill Amatsumagatsuchi, like it all clears away and it's a really unbelievable feeling. So they are adding in some elevation here so we can do some mounting, which is going to be nice, and they still have the ballistas and other sort of weapons that you can use to take down the Amatsu. Down here we have some nice screenshots. Now one thing I want to mention is we almost never see screenshots with a weapon with blue sharpness, but here we finally get it. Check that out. So that's nice to know. I mean, we have no idea yet whether or not this game has a G rank or anything close to it, but this does tell us that at least we're going all the way through high rank, which is nice to see. If you notice, the Amatsu is covered in a very almost like a robe type, like almost like a flappy like jelly type of membrane, which allows it to float through the sky, which is pretty cool. And two of its major attacks is of course tornadoes. Watch out Kushala. I actually think Amatsu wins when it comes to the power on these things. And also its water breath attack, which you'll notice that Tama Mitsune, which is one of the new flagship monsters, does a very similar attack as well. So I think water is going to be a very powerful element for the boss monsters in this game, which is great because there was a lot of fire in the last one. Nothing really big new on top of that, just a nice showcase and a wonderful render here. I really love the work that they're doing on the posing for these monsters for this game. Okay, let's move on to the next page. Okay, and here we are on page 3 and 4, and we see the two returning monsters which they revealed in their previous trailers, which is Duramboros and also Laviasioth, I believe his name is. Again, forgive me if I'm mispronouncing these things. Let's go ahead and take a look at Duramboros, or in Japanese we call him Doboruberuku. He is a fun one. So I won't go into details about him. If you played Monster Hunter 3 Ultimate, you certainly know this guy. But he's really fun. So he uses his tail almost like a hammer, and he slams it down on the ground. And he does lots of attacks with it. And it has this weak point up here, which is hard to reach. So here are just some screenshots. They're just talking about basically what he is and how he works, and how he uses his tail as a weapon. And then he's got a lot of moss, so from the distance it says it looks like a moving mountain or a mound. And then lots of variation with its tail's attacks. One cool thing down here though is they always have these little notes, which sort of like, they write them in a way to give a hint, but we know that what they're pretty much saying is true. So they're saying that in the past, its weak point up here has been really hard to reach. You either had to trip it and knock it over, or you had to be doing a gunner. But in this game, you can now mount it, which is great. And you also have aerial style, so that's going to be definitely key in hitting his weak point earlier on in the hunt. So I can definitely see aerial style being incredibly powerful against Duramboros. And look at look at this fish stain, huh? So this is the good old magma fish from I think Monster Hunter Freedom Unite, way back then. So this thing is pretty much a fish that lives in the volcano, goes underneath the lava, spews it out at you up here, as you can see, and gets a very tough body. So you're definitely going to want Mind's Eye before you fight this guy, probably. But this is just an over recap of all the different things he can do. The fact that he can swim through the ground and move under it as if it's water. The fact that it will pop out of the magma and attack you. And all the magma breath attacks and so forth. But look at this, guys. We have white sharpness. So not only do we have blue sharpness confirmed on the other screen, but now white sharpness. And that really has my attention because white sharpness is... I don't know if we really have those in non-G games. I mean, we've always had blue sharpness, but white I don't think so. So this is pretty special. I don't see this being a Dinovaldo armor. So the fact that it seems to have a little glow on it is probably irrelevant. But anyways, guys, white sharpness being confirmed is huge news for someone like me. And down here, again, just a really wonderful render. I just love the detail, just the velocity of it jumping out of the volcano. And down here is just a little comment again saying what I was echoing, which is that this is a monster that hasn't been back for a very long time. So they're saying to please look forward to all the new variations in attacks and movements that they've given the monster. Okay, let's move on to the next page. Okay, here we are on pages 5 and 6, and this is all about Palicos and Nyantas. So there's 4 different sections here, so let's take them one at a time. Okay, we're going to start it with the upper left here, and this is just talking about the fact that there's both the now Palicos and the Nyanta, and they're essentially the same thing. So as you go through the game, and it's not just her, but there's also the feline grandma, which you'll run into later, but you have this feline girl as well, and these are characters that will scout and find specific types of palicos and felines that you want to recruit. And the idea is that as you go through the game, you collect more and more new different types of cats, and those cats have 3 different purposes. They can 1, serve as a palico and fight alongside you during a hunt. 2, they can appear as a Meownster hunter, which is a special side quest they'll cover in a few pages, in which just the cats go out and do an automated sort of hunt and gathering quest. And then 3, you can also select any of your palicos to play as, and that is of course the Nyanta system, which they've been talking about recently. So really the key of where all these scenes take place is inside your room. There is what they call the Palico board. And this is where you do everything. So here they're just showing that this is where you go to toggle between hunter mode and Nyanta mode. So you can change whether you're controlling your hunter or you get to control one of your palicos. Then there's all sorts of other stuff which they'll cover in these other pages. And of course, you're going to see in all these pages, there's a lot of equipment and a lot of weapons and items for the palicos this time. So I think there's going to be a lot of gameplay and collectability going on here. Down here we see a palico dressed up in Dinovaldo gear, looking really sharp, which is pretty cool. So here they're just talking about the palico board, and this being sort of, again, where you do everything. So here, there's 2 major things that you can do for a feline. One of them is to set the support skills that they can do, and what these are like if you're playing as a Nyanta and you're playing as a cat, these are going to be the different attacks and skills that you can choose from when you battle. Okay, they do mention down here, and there seems to be a whole list, like there's 3 pages of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 16. It's like 25 different attacks that they can do. That's crazy. And they do and there could be more. They do mention that these skills, a lot of them are locked at first, but if you bring a palico along with you and defeat a specific monster, they will then unlock that skill. So this is going to be good for replayability. So if you want to, let's say, raise 3 or 4 different palicos as both a Nyanta or as a support, you're going to want to go and bring them into specific quests. So that's pretty neat. This is just like level 1 and level 10. I don't really see a huge difference, but that's what they're talking about. And then here, these are the support skills. Now this is what they do when they're set as a Palico. This is what they do in the background, whether it's like boosting your attack, whether it's you know, curing your poison or stuff like that. These are things that they automatically do. This is just how it is in Monster Hunter 4 Ultimate. However, unlike that game where the skills were already set, like depending on the type that they had, it seems like you can now choose whichever you want. They do mention that as you level up a Palico, they will unlock new support skills to choose from. But it looks like you're going to have a wide range of different skills and you can customize them. You do see 3 little slots here and 5 here, so you'll unlock more slots as you level up your Palicos. But this is the amount of different support skills that you can equip and bring in with you. And they're just mentioned down here that even as a Palico, you still want to sort of keep in mind that you might want to play as them as a Nyanta. So really going in and spending your time to customize these cats is really going to pay off in the long run. Okay, over here we do have a thing where they're talking here about the Nyanta quests. So although you can go and do any quest you want as either a hunter or a Nyanta, they do have very specific quests that are just for Nyantas. Now what's nice is they do mention down here that they have specific quests not only for single player but for multiplayer as well. Now one of the things that it seems like they're trying to do is make the Nyanta quests a little bit more colorful, a little bit more playful, just a different change of pace. So if you're just getting a little tired, I think, of the grind, I think the Nyanta quests are just going to be just what you need to sort of get some variation. So here they're just showing the reward screen when you go off and hunt, and it does appear that you do earn scraps. So if you don't know, scraps are the material that you use to craft the armor and the weapons for the cats. You don't use normal like rewards that you do for a hunter. So it looks like if you go off as a Nyanta and you kill a monster, you will earn scraps. So that adds another way of getting them, which is nice. Then here they're just going to show 3 of the more, I think, starting quests for Nyanta. One of them is going out with not an impact weapon, but a slicing weapon. And if you go and you whack around some Mufas, you're able to then collect some fur, which is nice and fun. They do have a gathering item quest. Now one of the cool things they mention here, and they've covered in their Taiwan video extensively, is that as a Nyanta you take in these skills, right? Which is down here, like all these different skills. However, you can't bring items with you. So the cool thing is that when you go out and you gather, you don't need to even have items. So you don't need a cold drink, you don't need a hot drink, you don't need a pickle, you don't need a bug net, you don't need anything. You can just gather as much as you want without having to worry about your items. So that's nice. You can see this little infinity mark here. And then they also gather a lot faster as well, so I'm definitely going to be using Nyanta when I'm going out for gathering quests. And here it's just your standard go around and whack the bad cat type of quest. Then here we saw in our second, I believe, trailer, which was really fun, of course the Nyanta mounting the bull drome. The bull drome being the large monster that is the leader of our most annoying, hated monster, the Bullfango. And here they're just talking about that with Nyanta there's a lot of fun smaller quests, but they do have quests where you go up against large monsters. They're tough, but it does give you the opportunity to earn special materials, which I think they're just talking about the scraps that you can get so you can craft new gear and items for your cats. And down here they're just mentioning that it seems like they really have quite a crap load of Nyanta quests. So they're saying please look forward to it. There is a lot of volume gameplay wise here. So cool stuff. Let's move on to the next page. Okay, and here we are on the next page. Now there is an absolute ton of info here and I don't want to keep you guys for way too long, so I'm going to speed through this a little bit. Now before we go over to these 2 new major systems, let's take a look at this bottom row down here, because this is a continuation from last page. So this is talking about some of the really cool support skills that you can equip and learn for your Palicos, or your Nyantas for that matter. So here they have an example. This is called the Support Plus skill, and what this does is actually add one more times that you can do a support skill. So this is going to let you do actions a little bit more, support a little bit more, attack a little bit more, you name it. So this will increase your gauge. This one is health up small. So this will permanently raise the health boost that you have before a hunt. Even if you die, you get to keep it. And they do mention down here that if there's health up small, then you better believe there's going to be health up large as well. Then here we have heat and blast resistance. So this allows, if you're going into the volcano against a blast element monster, that either your Nyanta or your Palicos are going to remain safe. Then over here we have the goldfish hunter. So this allows, so when you go to a fishing area, the Felyne will then often attract and fish out goldfish, which is very convenient for fishing missions. And then we have sort of like a tracking. So they mentioned down here that when you're playing as a Nyanta, they always have a paintball effect. So you can always tell where the monster is and where they're moving to. So what this skill allows you to do is see a little bit more information, like are they enraged, are they capturable, and stuff like that. So that's pretty cool. Okay, let's move over to this one. So there's going to be this is all about the Palico Plaza and all the different things you can do. Now I'm going to assume that you've played Monster Hunter 4 Ultimate, so I'm not going to cover these in detail because a lot of these are just returning systems. And I do love the Ryzex armor here for the Palico. That's pretty wild. It almost looks like a flyman or something. Dragonfly was a good nickname, guys. Okay, so the first one is the trader. So this is the same as the Wyverian trader that we had, the Waikun, I believe his name was, in Monster Hunter 4 Ultimate. So you'll be able to ask this Felyne to multiply items, and as you progress through the game, you will be able to unlock new farming and new different areas for different items that you can multiply. So this is really convenient for items that you often use for combining. And you can then use, instead of there being caravan points, there's a thing called Wycademy points. And Wycademy is kind of like the organization that you're working for, which is like traveling different lands and investigating stuff. So as you clear quests or as you find like droppable or sort of like prize items, the same way that you earn caravan points, you're going to earn these Wycademy points, and then you can use these things all throughout the game. One of those usages is for buying items from the trader. They have some examples here. So we have the oils that the guild style of Sword and Shield can use. So we have like the affinity oil, then we have exhaust oil, which adds exhaust damage to your attacks for Sword and Shield, which could be pretty cool. We have armor spears. We have the sort of like the low rank items that you need for making gems or decorations for your armor. And then a new item here, which is almost like a return to nothing food for your Kinsect if you're an Insight Glaive user. So if you use it, it says that it resets or loses all the elemental powers and attributes of your Kinsect. So this tells me that the elemental property of your Kinsect is going to play a bigger deal than it did in Monster Hunter 4 Ultimate, which is nice. And it's good to know that they do have an item that will reset those parameters, so you can sort of redo your Kinsect. Like, I don't know if this is just the elemental powers and weaknesses or the actual raising of them, I don't know. But of course, as you progress through the game, the amount of different items that you can buy will go up. And of course, there's going to be villager quests, so they'll be asking you to deliver certain items, and they will unlock certain things. And going over here, this is pretty cool. This is the Palico Dojo. And I absolutely love this. Look at this. This is the Tamamitsune armor for the Palico. So cool. I'm going to make that. So there's a few different things that you can do at the dojo. So one of the things you can do, and this is more reason to collect a wide selection of different Palicos, is that if you say you have a Palico that has a really powerful skill, and you want one of your other Palicos to learn it, you can spend points to say who's going to be the teacher, who's going to be the student, and you can then teach that skill to another Palico. So that's awesome. Then over here they talk about training. So normally in the game you have 2 Palicos with you. And for all the other ones that are in kind of like standby, you can either have them rest, which like sort of like replenishes their stamina and their, I guess, their tension, or you can have them doing training, which is just a cute way of saying that they'll gain a little bit of experience even though you're not taking them with you. So here in the dojo though, you can do sort of like a super version of both. You can do super training, which you have to spend points for, but it does allow your standby Palicos to level up really fast. Or you can do a super rest. Now super rest is going to be almost guaranteed to completely replenish the stamina and the vigor of your Palicos. So this is going to be really useful before you go into a really hard hunt. Now another really great thing is that in the past game for Monster Hunter 4 Ultimate, whether or not your Palico would target small monsters or large monsters was really dependent on the headpiece that was equipped. However, in this game you can now go to the dojo and change it to whatever you want. So let's say you want your Palico to target large monsters, it doesn't matter what armor they have, you can go to the dojo and change it. So this is a very welcome addition. Okay, so that pretty much covers this page, but I mean, it just looks like the Palicos are getting such a wonderful level up system and such customization. That's gonna be so great, so I can't wait. Okay, and here we are on the final 2 pages. This is covering more stuff about the Palicos, and then 1 page about the different stuff that you can do in the village of Kokoto. So let's go ahead and jump right in. Okay, so up here you can see they're just talking about they are bringing back the Meownster hunters. However, it does look like they're going to make it a little bit more fun than they had in Monster Hunter 4 Ultimate. So this is just another way that you can earn scraps, which are materials that you use to craft the different armors and weapons for your Palicos. However, instead of just picking your cats, picking which route you want them to go and then sending them off, it looks now that they've added a small fun minigame to it, which is the cannon. So if you notice, this cannon looks like it's part of the air balloon, and you're literally taking your cats and you're shooting them off from inside the cannon at a specific part of the quest. So let's say Oliver, which is this cat here, is up, you would aim and shoot it and try to aim for one of these 4 areas. Now if you can hit an area where they overlap, then you have the possibility of getting both monster materials and items. So it's kind of a fun mini game where you have to decide both the direction and the power in which you're going to shoot and launch your Palicos, which it looks like they're going to land with this really adorable parachute. My guess is that they're going to be taking away the animation for like doing all the different battles, because you can literally shoot off like one Palico to a completely different area. So I think it's just going to be a fun cannon mini game. And then after the cannon mini game, you're going to come back and just get your scraps. So I'm happy about that. It's not that I didn't like the Meownster Hunters in 4 Ultimate. I thought it was really fun. But let's face it, no one really did all the animations and watched that thing over and over again to the end. So if they're just making it into a fun action mini game, that's awesome. Then down here, they're just talking about scraps. So if you're new to Monster Hunter and you're only from Monster Hunter 4 Ultimate, this was a system that was present in past games. But when, let's say you give, let's say, Velocidrome materials to the armory so that they can make you either a hunter's sword or an armor. What happens is after you make any type of equipment in the game, you get sort of leftover scraps from the process. So let's say you get a Velocidrome scrap or something like that. Those scraps are then used for crafting the equipment for the cats. So the further that you progress and you make stuff for your hunter, the more scraps and different stuff you can make for your Palicos. And this quest, this kind of minigame, is just another way that you can earn these scraps. I can't wait to see this in action. It's going to be so funny. Then down here, they just mentioned that the series producer, Ryozo Tsujimoto, has mentioned that there is going to be an absolute, pardon my French, but buttload of different types of armor for your cats. So lots of really cute ones as well that you're going to want to go off and start collecting. So it looks like they're putting a good emphasis on the collection aspect for the Palicos, which is great because, again, you can go and play as them now, as a Nyanta, so it adds even more motivation. Then here they're just talking about Kokoto, which is an old village from the older Monster Hunter games. So we have the quest girl, we have the village elder, and then we also have the armory. Now here they're mentioning that on the bottom screen, just like for Ultimate, you're able to tap the icon of a village. We have Kokoto and Beruna, we have the Gathering Hall, Hunter for Hire, Poke, and also Yukumo. You can tap them to move, or you can talk to the cat at the entrance of the village, and you can also then just select where you want to go and move. And yes, of course there is online, even though they haven't really been talking about it, so you do see here online Gathering Hall and offline Gathering Hall. I can't wait for them to finally spill the details of what they're doing to replace guild quests, because they have confirmed that guild quests are not going to be in this game. Which, frankly, I mean, they had their purpose and they were fun, but I'm happy to see them go, and I can't wait to see what they have coming up. Then here we do have our favorite Maximeld, who is from Cathar in Monster Hunter for Ultimate. So this is the his melding pot, where you're able to give him charms and then special items to craft new ones. Now, they didn't mention anything about Frenzy Crystals, which is what we used in Monster Hunter for Ultimate. I mean, they have confirmed that the Frenzy is not going to be a thing in this game. So all they say is that you'll give him talismans and certain items, and then he can create new charms for you. So it's good to see that Maximeld is back, and I'm happy that they didn't relegate his role to someone else, because they really spent their time with the mythology to explain that he was the only one who had sort of the juju to do it. So it's cool to see our favorite little guy with his froggy on his hat come back down to do it. Now, in the past games with this village, there was always like a sword that was stuck in the ground. This is the same sword I think that was stuck in the ground at Sunsnug Isle in Monster Hunter for Ultimate. I could be wrong. But it seems like that story kind of tidbit is back, and there's going to be a sword that you can't pull from the ground. So that's nice for series veterans. They're going to know what this is, and they're going to look forward to doing that all over again. And then here we have the feline granny. So we're on the other page, we had what was probably her granddaughter. In Kokoto, this is the granny, and she's, again, you can go and you can hire new Palicos, you can scout new Palicos. And here you can tell her, like, I want you to go out and find me Palicos that are attack focused or defense focused or support focused and stuff like that. And you can do stuff like that, so that's cool. And down here we have a special kitchen, and I love what they did here. It's a fondue style kitchen. So this is just a normal kitchen where you can eat and activate meal skills before going out on a quest. So very nice touch to really, I think, they're going to have a lot of these same systems at each village, but it's nice to see that they're giving them their own unique flavor and taste. So that's cool. Then down here, Famitsu is just letting us know that they are going to have another special with Monster Hunter Cross news on November 12th. So you can better believe that I'll be covering it here on my channel. And even though I kind of did my best to breeze through this entire issue, as I go through it in my next past days, I will post stuff on my Twitter and my Tumblr that I may have missed, or some smaller details that we uncover. And again, subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. This is going to be a good place to get Monster Hunter Cross news. And I hope you guys are hyped as I am. We only have 29 days until release. November 28th is right around the corner. Okay, and that concludes our look at the Famitsu. And now a special message. Now, we often think of the Charge Blade and the Insect Glaive as being a perfect match. Both were introduced together, both are young and full of energy, and both of them have a very bright future ahead of them. Today it is my pleasure to share with you one more special piece of news, only this one is directed at a very specific person, an Insect Glaive user from the beautiful country of Bulgaria. Yes, Tommy, I'm talking to you, my friend. Teddy loves you very much and has an incredibly important question to ask you. High school sweethearts, together for 8 years, and hunting together since Monster Hunter Freedom Unite, it sounds like the two of you have something very special together. I find it beautiful that not only do you guys share Monster Hunter together, but quite possibly the rest of your lives as well. I would love to hear in comments or on my Twitter how you answered, but if you do accept the proposal of marriage, I wish the two of you all the best. Until next time, until death do us part, happy hunting.